where art and community come alive. From stunning gallery exhibits to captivating live performances, we're here to inspire, connect, and celebrate the arts. Visit canearts.org.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here, 4 o'clock hour on a Thursday. If you're one of these 9 to 5ers, you've got 53 minutes and 35 seconds until you hit that 5 o'clock bell, and I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here as we're giving attention to, and perhaps we're even going to spark a little conversation regarding items of financial and economic importance. I know, as a previous listener to this show, we're talking on any number of subjects. We're going to be looking at a variety of different things today. Lots in the news right now. Markets are very much top of the headline, top of the fold kinds of stories. We're going to be looking at specific companies, certainly sectors, industries, those kinds of entities, which may be doing well right now and maybe in a little bit more of a challenging space. But in doing so, you recall, as a previous listener to Dollars and Cents, that nothing that we're talking about here is intended as a specific recommendation for you. Meaning that even though we're going to be talking about some things, again, positively, other things, maybe not so positively, that again, that everybody's situation is unique. We strongly encourage you to reach out to your tax advisor, your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group. Love to chat with you. Love to hear about your particular financial journey. See if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. Northmainfinancial.com. We have a contact page on there. You leave us an email address or a phone number. Let us know the most preferred and desirable ways for us to contact you. Again, at northmainfinancial.com. All right, let's get into it. Busy slate today. I mean, we got a lot of things to talk about here. And yeah, I mean, it's all financial and it's all economic, but we've got some anecdotal kinds of things here as well. Got to keep you listening. Got to keep you interested. I mean, we're going to be talking about things like Pringles chips and Big League Baseball, sometimes probably in the same sentence, if you're paying attention, because both of those things are at least hitting my radar screen, or as the boss says there on Good Morning LKN, hits my Twitter feed, which is now the X feed. I guess to us older folks, it's always going to be a little blue bird in Twitter. But at any rate, let's go ahead and dive into it. Lots on our plate here. Lots of things that are hitting our radar screen. From a retail standpoint, I know that they were also talking about this again on Good Morning LKN, which, by the way, if you're not listening to Good Morning LKN here on WSIC, make sure you start doing that. Justin, Bill, and Mamie, 7 to 9 in the morning, Monday to Friday, always talking about a lot of pertinent things happening here at the lake and in our region, but also talking about some, frankly, just fun things. And they make me chuckle constantly. So make sure you tune in 7 to 9 in the mornings. Again, Good Morning LKN here on WSIC. And I know they talked about this, and I definitely want to give some time to it. It's a big deal, and it's a big deal, frankly, in a not so positive way. Certainly, if you're Dollar Tree. So Dollar Tree, big retail outlet, has stores all over the country. Publicly traded company, ticker symbol David, Larry, Tom, Roger, DLTR. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds. They announced that they're going to be selling Family Dollar. So they bought Family Dollar here about 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years ago. They're going to be selling the Family Dollar franchise, though, to a couple of private equity firms, specifically Brigade Capital and Macellum Capital, very well known in the retail space. The big deal has to do with the price. In 2015, Dollar Tree bought the Family Dollar franchise for about $9 billion. So big number. $9 billion. And frankly, it has not been a good buy for Dollar Tree. It has weighed heavily on their earnings, definitely been a real weight in not a positive way on their balance sheet. They have closed a number of stores in an attempt to really revitalize the franchise and just have not been able to do that. So they're going to be selling to these two private equity groups for $1 billion. You heard me say that correctly. They bought it for $9 billion 10 years ago. Going to be selling the franchise now for $1 billion. Now, it's a much smaller franchise than what they bought, certainly fewer stores, but no matter how you cut it, buying for $9 billion, selling for $1 billion, not good math. And so Dollar Tree is really going to be in a much more advantageous space, frankly, once they get to that space of having the sale completed And I know even from their public statements, they're looking forward to that so that they can kind of refresh on their balance sheet and certainly go forward. That's pretty big news, especially in the retail space. Second big news item that we're seeing there, and gosh, if you've turned on any news program here of any shape, size, variety, or color, doesn't have to be business news programs, pretty much everything, has been using this word that we've talked about a lot here, tariffs. Now, remember, tariffs, generally speaking, are taxes on inbound or imported goods with the idea, with the receiving country, in this case, the United States, making domestically made products more competitive, meaning if inbound imports are more expensive, then shouldn't then domestic products be less expensive than those and perhaps even more advantageous for folks to buy in that country? Again, noting here in the US in this particular example. However, and I think we're seeing this play out in real time, it is very rarely, if never, if not never, that simple, easy, and binary. Just isn't. We are a $35 trillion economy. We just aren't going to have things that are that simple. It just rarely works that way, and we're starting to see that. Most recent announcement made yesterday, 25% tariffs on automobiles coming into the U.S., and it's not only with finished automobiles, but it is also with certain automobile parts which are manufactured or procured from outside of the U.S. Now, the reason why that is particularly important to keep in mind is that some of the parts that are brought in from overseas are going to domestic manufacturers here. So I'm looking at companies like General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, and Tesla being the biggest ones here in the US. Yes, they are domestically manufactured and brought to a finished product, but some of those parts, again, are coming from outside of the US or are coming from other countries. So they're going to have tariffs associated with them, at least initially. So this is what I'm talking about, things not being binary and often not that simple, that it's not just true that if you make a blanket kind of movement from an economic standpoint, that necessarily there's going to be a single binary reflection or a single binary effect. And that's what we're starting to see here right now. So we're going to be watching this very closely. I've had a ton of questions on it, a lot of inbound folks saying, what does this mean for the markets? What does this mean for, for prices? What does this mean when I go to buy my next car? Folks, in a lot of ways, we really don't know yet. We really can't quantify that in its completion because we don't know how long these are going to last. Is this something that has been imposed in the short run with the possibility that's going to go away in the relative short period? Is this something that's going to be of longer durability? That's obviously going to have an effect from a financial aspect in terms of what it means for the buying experience, meaning that our price is going to stay higher longer. That obviously will have a significant effect on where we are economically, but a lot of it has to do with the duration. So we're going to be watching that very closely here. It's going to make the news. I know it's going to cause some concern, even some apprehension with folks. We're definitely keeping it on our radar screen. But at this point, as we've said to everybody with whom we've spoken about it, we don't know. The market doesn't know. That's why the market's jumping around all over the place. Really can't quantify it at this point. So we're in a little bit of a wait and see approach, which is always wise when you got things that are a little bit more different or outside of the box. All right, well, we're going to catch our breath here. Take a few moments to hear from our sponsors. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. We're going to come back here a few moments here on WSIC.
Certified financial planner Joshua Dobi is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, it's very much sweater in the morning, regret it in the afternoon.
All right.
Audio.
That was a good first segment.
Okay. Did I cut early enough there, Reese?
We'll go about maybe 3 seconds earlier, if that works.
3 seconds earlier.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Okay. Yep, that's helpful.
The WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Your live music performance weekend kicks off Thursday, March 27th at Bin 110 in Cornelius. Pluto for Planet headlines the Thursday night show, while Push takes the stage on Friday, and Little Johnny Trailer Trash is your Saturday artist. Join Lake Norman's finest local bands at Bin 110 in Cornelius Thursday through Saturday. On Friday night, the Wine Maestro in Statesville presents a performance by musician William Neesmith. The set list will include your favorite classics as well as hits from today. Enjoy live music at the Wine Maestro in Statesville at 7 p.m. Friday night. Come on out and meet the WSIC team on Saturday at Snooze Mattress on West Catawba Avenue in Cornelius. We will be doing a Merlefest ticket giveaway, so stop by and sign up. I am looking forward to meeting you on Saturday at Snooze Mattress in Cornelius from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday night, the 500 Club in Statesville presents live music with Tanya Wood and Fortune 5. Combining music and energy, Fortune 5 plays beloved classics and contemporary hits, creating an unforgettable experience. Enjoy live music at 6 p.m. Saturday at the 500 Club with a performance by Fortune 5. The Auto Fair, presented by Camping World, is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway Thursday, April 3rd through Saturday, April 5th. The show brings together the car community in a celebration of their shared passion for all things automotive. Don't miss the Heritage Invitational, where iconic cars from all eras are gathered for up-close viewing. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for Auto Fair tickets and more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
Making your money make sense. Dollars and Cents with CFP Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, Football Reference. And we talk a lot of football on here. Football is one of those words that we talk a lot. One of those words that begins with the letter F, right? Football, right? Talk a lot of finances, a lot of finances on here, and also food. And also baseball, which doesn't begin with F. Just making sure you're listening. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here into the second quarter of today's show. And let's talk baseball a little bit. I got to talk baseball today. Big League Baseball, opening day for the season. Hope springs eternal. All the spring references, right? The flowers are blooming, especially in North Carolina where they're blooming and spreading just piles of yellow pollen all over everything that we see and touch. I mean, it's very real. It's the spring season and all that comes along with it. But talking big league baseball, and like I said, looking forward to the season. We were talking, producer Bill and I, we're talking offline here a little bit how the Pittsburgh Pirates, their number one guy, Paul Skeens, pitching today and say, why weren't they pitching in Pittsburgh? Why not wait, to bring him out until they got to Pittsburgh? Well, he's pitching in Florida. I don't think that's a mistake. It was 28 degrees in Pittsburgh today, and I know that firsthand. This morning, they probably didn't want to get that arm too tight to start out the season. But it's fun, and it's enjoyable, especially if you're a baseball fan. And my Pittsburgh Pirates fans, I know, hope springs eternal always, and all the other cliches. But I want to highlight a couple of items when we're talking about big league baseball. And this has been a phenomenon that we have seen for decades. This is not something new, but it seems like the disparity has become even larger here over, let's say, the last 10 or 15 years or so, meaning the difference between what are sometimes called big market teams in Major League Baseball and small market teams in Major League Baseball. Now, what I'm going to talk about next has to do with how salaries are structured for players in Major League Baseball, different than the other two big sports, the NFL, football, and the NBA for basketball, in that there is no salary cap. Now, there is a luxury tax, which is a quasi-salary cap, not really, because it's not a hard cap, meaning you can go above the amount where the luxury tax kicks in, but other than that, you're not penalized for it. It's not like you're restricted from spending that money. You just know it's going to cost you a little bit more with the luxury tax involved. The reason why I'm bringing that up is, again, just real big disparity in terms of team payrolls. in baseball. And I found this to be very interesting. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal on this as well, and that's really the source of this particular information, talking about where teams are. And like I said, my Pittsburgh Pirates are pretty close to the bottom in terms of team payroll, but they're not the absolute bottom. Actually, the three teams that spend the least, and when I say the least, understand I'm talking in relative terms here, because we're talking about a tremendous amount of money. So even the three teams that are at the so-called bottom of the salary list, meaning in terms of total salaries for players, we're still talking about between 80 and $130 million a year. So I mean, it's a huge amount of money. And there you're going to find the Marlins, you're going to find the Florida Marlins, Oakland A's, Tampa Bay Rays that are there. Interesting, two Florida teams. Just sidebar. I think it's mostly coincidental there, but between 80 and 130 million a year in terms of salaries. On the other hand, at the top end of the spectrum, in terms of teams that spend the most, you're probably not going to be surprised. Both New York teams, New York Mets and the New York Yankees, and then the last year's national champion, or last year's World Series winner, excuse me, getting football and baseball crossed up here. Well, last year's World Series champion, the LA Dodgers, all three at the top, and they're between $400 and $500 million a year. So they're paying huge amounts of luxury tax, and really what their determination is, and certainly they have the financial heft to be able to do it, it's worth it. Pay the luxury tax, bring in the people that you want, pay them in what in some instances are the largest contracts in the history of professional sports. Certainly the Mets and the Yankees at various times have had players with that distinction as well. And you're talking about huge, huge disparity. So between the bottom and the top, what are you talking about? 600-ish% differential, meaning 6 times more payroll for the top teams than for the bottom teams in terms of that. And when you look at wins, not necessarily World Series championships, but when you look at wins, definitely there is a correlation over the last 20 years between how much you spend and how much you win. It's not perfect, and it's certainly not one-to-one, but you look at the averages over the course of the last 20 years, and definitely the teams that spend more have a higher propensity for winning. Very, very interesting. A very interesting dynamic. Wanted to spend a few minutes on it here, especially because it's opening day. And again, for all of us small market team folks, you know, it's everybody starts out the same, just like we say about our beloved Carolina Panthers. Everybody's 0-0 today. Literally everybody has the same opportunity and, let's say, possibility. Can't say probability, but I'll say possibility to win the World Series at this point. That may change literally as of today, but at least for today, that happens to be true. Well, it'd be tough to talk about baseball and not talk about the kinds of things that you eat at the baseball field, right? I mean, if we're talking, I mean, there's even several parks have various food company, beer, beverage company sponsored names associated with them. I got to bring this one up. Mamie brought it up this morning on Good Morning LKN, and it just happened to tickle my earlobe. We were talking about it with producer Bill here offline as well. When we're talking about Miller Lite, a collaboration between Miller Lite and Pringles, the Pringles potato chips. By the way, Miller Lite, owned by Molson Coors, they might have the best ticker symbol ever for a beer company. You'll understand when I say it in a minute here. Their ticker symbol is Terry Alpha Paul. That's correct. If you put the acronym together, TAP, that's pretty much the perfect beer acronym. I don't know how you could get any better than that. TAP being the acronym for Molson Coors. They own Miller Lite. Anyhow, there is a collaboration between them. There are going to be Pringles flavored like Miller Lite beer. Now, I thought about that, and when producer Bill and I talked about, I think that just makes it very efficient, right? I mean, generally speaking, a lot of folks who enjoy chips tend to like a cold beer along with it. I mean, you got it all in one chip in your hand. I mean, that seems like an efficient use of time for that kind of thing. Maybe the kind of thing that you'll enjoy at the ballpark, or at least on the television as you're watching your favorite team. Maybe at home as well. But kind of an interesting sort of collaboration on that end of things between Miller Lite and Pringles. But going back to baseball, again, just pretty amazing stuff. The dynamics, the economics that are associated with it. And frankly, whether we like it or not, a correlation between the teams that spend more having a higher propensity for winning, at least here over the last couple of decades or so. So very interesting kind of stuff. All right, going to keep moving. Kind of an interesting company here, talking about an IPO, which I'll say in light of where the noisiness of the market is right now, I'm pretty surprised that they're continuing to push forward with this, especially because of their industry. And you'll understand when I say here in a moment. So this particular company, in my end of the world, has made a lot of waves, a lot of noise before announcing their intent to go public. And now that they're going to be public, I think they're going to get a lot of press, probably relatively speaking. The group's called CoreWeave, ticker symbol is going to be, they're not public yet, ticker symbol is going to be Charlie Roger Water Victor, CRWV. Can't buy the stock or the bonds yet unless you are one of the ones who's working with the subscribers. So there's nothing to say about the publicly traded stock or bonds at this point. But that's what they're going to be when they go public here very shortly, perhaps even this week. Not a recommendation, obviously, as that becomes available to buy, sell, or hold it. But they are in the AI end of things, surprise, and in cloud computing. And they actually they're in collaboration. One of the reasons why they've hit so many folks' radar screens with NVIDIA, ticker symbol Nancy Victor David Alpha, NVDA, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold NVIDIA. You hear us talk about them constantly here because they're one of the largest traded companies, certainly the darling of the stock market up until about 3 months ago. And so NVIDIA actually owns about 6% of the privately held shares at this point. And they use the semiconductors, they use NVIDIA semiconductors in their AI and cloud computing structures. So they're let's say very much in the hot end of the market, or what was the hot end of the market. It's going to be interesting to see, though, as they actually come public, what the strength of the stock price is going to be. Because 6 months ago, it seemed like almost anything that had AI associated with it was just hot. Everybody, I put that in quotes, wanted it. Everybody wanted to be a participant in it. That really has cooled off here over the last, I would say several weeks. We're not even into a couple of months yet. Definitely over the last several weeks, though. NVIDIA stock price, really an easy target to look at with that. Definitely has not been, even with their most recent technology conference that they held, definitely didn't move the radar all that much. Excuse me, in terms of buying strength. Often the kind of announcements they made, we talked about that on previous dollars and cents shows, that they would definitely be, there would be enthusiasm. I think that'd be a fair and appropriate thing to say about the stock, but it hasn't been here recently. And certainly for the folks who were buying it up in the 140 range of things, they're feeling some pain here in the 1-teens, meaning in the 100-teens that where it currently trades. So we're down like 20-ish% off the highs. And certainly those folks who were later into the mix of things are feeling that from a valuation standpoint. So it'll be interesting to see as CoreWeave comes online here, what that means. Are they going to be strong from an IPO standpoint? Because, as they kind of get into the market, what will the buying strength look like? Definitely going to be watching that. Got to bring up another one here as we're looking at the markets. Before we go to break here, and I'll talk about it on the other side of things in the second half of today's show as well, and that's gold. And there isn't a single ticker symbol for gold. I will mention one of the most or the largest ETF, the exchange traded fund out there, ticker symbol GLD, appropriately. Green Larry David, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that ETF. But I say it because the spot price on a troy ounce of gold in the London Exchange right now has risen above $3,000, and so that's hit the radar screen for a lot of folks. And so we're going to be talking about that a little bit more as we come back into the second half. Does that mean some indication about where inflation is? Sometimes that's used as a fear marker. Does that mean that folks are a little bit more concerned about the markets? That's going to be the kind of thing that we're going to talk about as we get into the second half. But first, we're going to take a few moments to hear from our sponsors. Come back here for the second half of Dollars and Cents here on WSIC.
0.7 WSIC.
All right, here we go. Halfway.
All right. How did we do? Did I end it soon enough there?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was a few seconds faster there. So, okay. Good.
All right, so this is where our longer break is, so I'll let you know when we're back.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you.
Chance coming up on Monday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Babe, dinner's ready.
Ladies.
Babe, Dinner's ready.
Ever feel like your husband just isn't listening?
Dinner's ready.
Maybe he just can't hear.
Babe.
It's time to turn up the volume on life. Beltone in Mooresville and Cornelius can help with a free hearing test and expert solutions tailored for you. Call 877-HEAR-123 today. That's 877-HEAR-123. Don't wait. Call 877-432-7123 and bring back the sound of love.
How do you know which vitamins, herbs, or homeopathics are right for you? Come to Lowry Drug. You will be amazed at our selection of natural products, including vitamins, minerals, protein supplements, herbs, homeopathics, essential oils, and Bach flower remedies. We have quality products and smart selection for your better health. Come see us at Lowry Drug on Harkness Road in Statesville. Call 704-873-2247. Come see us.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't fix America's debt by starving its people.
Have your say.
One shooting after another, and we're doing nothing to solve it?
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
With 5 area locations, Desco is your go-to resource for electrical supplies. Albemarle, Mooresville, Salisbury, Statesville, and Lexington. No matter where the job takes you, you're sure to be close to a Desco. Shop now at DescoInc.com.
Harrison's is the home of Work Western, and wow! For nearly 30 years, our family has been boots on the ground when it comes to work. We have the largest selection of in-stock boots in the Carolinas and the best workwear brands like Harriet, Carhartt, and Wrangler. Find us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Closets by Design of Charlotte has been your trusted local expert in custom home organization for over 20 years. This March, the luck of the Irish is yours with 40% off plus an additional 17% off when you mention our ad in Lake Norman Woman Magazine. Visit closetsbydesign.com today.
Nothing but the best talk.
The area's best talk.
WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Turns out the nation's economy grew more than we thought at the end of last year. The Bureau of Economic Analysis says U.S. GDP increased 2.4% October to December, a slight upward revision from 2.3%. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he's cutting 10,000 jobs and streamlining agencies in his department. He says the changes are expected to cut annual government costs by $1.8 billion. Hooters wants to become more family-friendly in hopes of giving the chain new life. The original Hooters restaurant is in Clearwater, Florida, and already the founders, who own 22 nearby locations, have started to focus on good food and good service that's catering to more than just men. If it works, the latest private equity owners of Hooters could return the brand to the founders after the company undergoes a spin through bankruptcy. Heading to the close, stocks are mixed and trading in a very narrow range. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
The best talk all day long.
All right, here we go.
Local starts here. Dollars and Cents continues now. Here's your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello, and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show, Football Reference. I appreciate you hanging with us as we get into the second half, the meat and potatoes aspect of things. And I mean that quite literally. We like to talk food here as well on Dollars and Cents, looking at how it infiltrates all of our lives, necessity, of course, but also with regards to how it economically and financially very much a part of what we do. And I appreciate you spending this time as we make the sprint run to the 5 o'clock hour here on WSIC. As we were going to break there, we were talking about gold a little bit. And, I don't talk, and I hear from a lot of folks, a lot of you, that say you don't talk about gold or commodities as much. That's true. I don't, especially in relationship to the overall stock market. I do try to make things as broad as possible whenever I'm talking about particular subjects, meaning hopefully as relevant as possible to as many of you as possible at a given time. But I'm talking gold right now primarily because of where the price has moved. So here over the last year, or actually a little bit more than that, getting closer to 18 months or so, you've seen the price of gold move as measured by the spot price of a troy ounce on the London Exchange, about 28 to 32%, depending upon where you're starting on that end of things. So it has crossed over the $3,000 per troy ounce marker here for the first time. And so it's hit a lot of radar screens, starting to hear gold commercials again, which, just sidebar, no pun intended. I was interested, why weren't we getting those gold commercials when gold was down there at, $2,000 a troy ounce? And now we get them at $3,000 after it's made this big move up. Well, wouldn't it have made more sense to run the commercials back at 2,000? I know the reason why. And it's not good. You can see by my body language if you happen to be watching me on the WSIC app here. Which, by the way, if you don't have the WSIC app, go over to that Google store, go over to the Apple store, download the app. What's so nice about that is you never have to worry about the radio signal. No matter where you are, you just click, literally, as you open up the app, you click on the big button. Even somebody like me can do that. Boom, no matter where you are, you get the streaming. Plus, you get the video if you're interested in that as well. So you get all of my body language antics here on the live stream as well if you want to take a look at that. But at the very least, as true as you can always tap into the audio no matter where you are on the WSIC app. But again, when I'm looking at the price of a troy ounce of gold, saying, okay, that's it's a lot of movement in a very short amount of time. What does that mean? Can we take anything from that? Is it a fear trade? Is it folks are wanting to get out of the markets and so they're moving into gold? Could be some of that. Is it an inflation trade? Historically, gold has been an inflation trade where the market believes that inflation is going to stay higher for longer, that we see a higher price of gold. Could it be some of that? Maybe. But those two things, when I'm looking at the fear trade and the inflation trade, I would say not as relevant as they used to be. And I'm saying that not because those don't still exist, but on the fear end of things, there are so many other instruments now, and specifically U.S. Treasuries, it seems like have become more of the fear trade movement, meaning if folks are fearful of the stock market, they tend to move into cash or short-term treasuries as their alternative holding more so than gold here over the last, let's say, couple of decades or so. And the inflation trade, I would say similar over the last couple of decades or so, because inflation has other means of being tempered than looking at commodities, and because we're nowhere near the gold standard anymore, haven't been anywhere close to it for the last 50 years, and certainly we're not anywhere near to it right now. So to say that there's rotation into gold because gold is a better inflation hedge, I think is more belief than actual fact. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be in gold, or I'm not saying that gold is a wrong investment for you. I'll say everybody's situation is unique. You definitely want to make your own evaluation and then your own decisions when it comes to that. But what I am saying is that whole idea of it being the fear or inflation trade marker, I don't know that that's as relevant anymore. And so that's why I'm noting a caution. And then also, just like I do with everything that's appreciated so much in value, if it's gone up or increased in value a lot in a relatively short amount of time, friends, be cautious. I mean, increasing 28, 30, 32% here over the course of the last year and a half, that is a tremendous amount of movement in a particular investment. Just be cautious. I'm not saying that gold's going to pull back in price at all. None of us do. None of us know whether that's going to be true or not. I'm just saying that that's a large amount of growth in a fairly short amount of time. Just be cautious with it. That's all. Just keep a close eye on it. If you own gold, especially if you own gold inside of a brokerage account, whether you actually own the bullion in a self-directed IRA, or you own very widely held ETFs or commodity funds, exchange traded funds like GLD or IAU, those are the big ones that are out there on the exchange traded fund market. Just make sure you're cautious with it. Just make sure you're aware. And if you see you've had a large amount of gain and it's appropriate to trim it, then do so. And if it's not, then don't. But it's kind of the way it works. Really, just to bring that up as a point of attention for you, so that you're not missing anything as you're looking at your radar screen. All right, speaking on keeping down the certainly financial path, and we talk about that. That's one of the words that begins with F that we talk a lot on here. But got to bring up one. Gold being more of a traditional investment. Got to bring up this one, which is relatively new, but they continue to be I would say omnipresent. I can't say ubiquitous yet, but I could say omnipresent with the under age 40 investment crowd, which for years, maybe forever, has been largely ignored by the investment and financial universe. You can see by my body language, maybe even hear by my voice tone, which has really been just very poor on our industry. And I know why. It's because that financial advisors don't believe that there's any money to be made with folks who are younger. And at some level, I understand that in terms of accumulation of assets, often being with folks who have moved their way longer in their careers. However, it's always been true that financial planning is relevant for everybody who wants it. I mean, there's no space where you can say, well, you know what, I really don't need that. Everybody does at some level. It's just a matter of whether you want to pursue it or not. And this particular group has done, in my opinion, a very good job of tapping into that under age 40 demographic. I'm talking about Robinhood. Ticker symbol HOOD, as you probably easy to figure out there. Henry Oscar David, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or bonds in any way. Frankly, Robinhood's gone through some up and downs. If you look at their stock price, it's been all over the place. They came out, they were kind of the darling of everything, and then they went through a pretty miserable period, both as a company and as a stock price. Now they've started to rebound a little bit, and kind of interesting watching it happen. Especially their CEO has really gone through some challenging times. He's still there, hasn't left, and now Robinhood has come out and announced that they're going to be offering a larger suite. So SUITE, not sweet like candy, but a suite in terms of a basket of offerings that they're going to be giving to their higher end customers, meaning I think they call them gold level customers at Robinhood, who are paying Robinhood a fee. And they're going to start offering things like banking services, so checking and savings accounts. They're going to be offering more advanced wealth management tools. So you can be a participant at Robinhood for very little to no cost at all. But they're going to be offering some more advanced things if you'd like to pay for them from a wealth management standpoint. And they're going to be even offering some estate planning tools that you can utilize again through Robinhood. I find it very interesting, and I've had a lot of questions through the years. Some folks have said, it's just a toy, it's just a video game talking about money, and then other folks, many folks under the age of 40 who use it, and frankly, I'm one who encourages it. And it's not because I'm endorsing Robinhood. I'm not. I don't use it myself, and it's not something that I recommend for utilization by anybody. Because I have no affiliation with them at all. But what I do like about it is increasing the universe of folks who are paying attention to their finances. I'm going to say it again. Robinhood has done an exceptional job in a place that mostly has been ignored by the financial services industry. Robinhood has done an exceptional job of expanding the universe of folks who are paying attention to their finances. I love it for that. I love it because as everybody gets smarter about their finances, we all win. Truthfully, it really is true. When folks are making better financial decisions, then we all win. And that's the most important part of what I'm talking about with Robinhood. Like I said, it's not an endorsement. I'm not unnatural. I'm not trying to sell them or that they're better than other platforms that are out there. Nope, not going to say that either, because there are several other platforms out there as well. I'm really bringing up Robinhood because of their announcements about what they're going to be offering. But I love that they've been able to tap into that demographic in ways that, frankly, other companies have largely ignored. And now some possibility, folks are looking at things like making investments, and they're looking at things like saving every week or every month. And I love that. That just increases that pool of opportunity for folks to be able to utilize that in increasing ways. Well, friends, we're going to hear from our sponsors here for a couple of seconds. I'm going to take a break as we get ready for the fourth quarter. But hang with us as we come back here on Dollars and Cents on WSIC.
We'll have more of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi following these brief messages on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, that was perfect.
Yep. I could just, when I'm speaking, I cannot hear the music, but when I take a deep breath, I can hear
right,
it.
And then you can hear it. Yeah.
I can hear it for just a quick second.
Right.
And so when I can hear that, then I start doing the countdown in my head.
Right.
So,
yeah. But that was good. That was right on time.
Well, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to get really good at it just about the time that we're all done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be perfect at it when we don't have to do it anymore.
Right? Yeah. All right. I'll let you know when we're coming back.
Yes, sir. I'll be ready.
Cornelius. Pluto for Planet headlines the Thursday night show, while Push takes the stage on Friday, and Little Johnny Trailer Trash is your Saturday artist. Join Lake Norman's finest local bands at Bin 110 in Cornelius Thursday through Saturday. On Friday night, the Wine Maestro in Statesville presents a performance by musician William Neesmith. The set list will include your favorite classics as well as hits from today. Enjoy live music at the Wine Maestro in Statesville at 7 p.m. Friday night. Come on out and meet the WSIC team on Saturday at Snooze Mattress on West Catawba Avenue in Cornelius. We will be doing a Merlefest ticket giveaway, so stop by and sign up. I am looking forward to meeting you on Saturday at Snooze Mattress in Cornelius from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday night, the 500 Club in Statesville presents live music with Tanya Wood and Fortune 5. Combining music and energy, Fortune 5 plays beloved classics and contemporary hits, creating an unforgettable experience. Enjoy live music at 6 p.m. Saturday at the 500 Club with a performance by Fortune 5. The Auto Fair, presented by Camping World, is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway Thursday, April 3rd through Saturday, April 5th. The show brings together the car community in a celebration of their shared passion for all things automotive. Don't miss the Heritage Invitational, where iconic cars from all eras are gathered for up-close viewing. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for Auto Fair tickets and more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
We're back now
All right, here we go.
with your host, Certified Financial Planner, Joshua Dobi, on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter of today's show, Football Reference. And I appreciate you hanging with us in the sprint run to the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to go ahead and dive into it here. Got to talk a little bit more about food. I know I talked with you a little bit about Miller Lite flavored Pringles. That was something Mamie had brought up, though, on Good Morning LKN. Got to give you a couple others, though, that maybe in addition to what they talk about, or they may have talked about these as well. They certainly hit my radar screen here over the talking about the food end of things. Most ordered pies. I thought this was kind of interesting. And pies, these particular pies we're talking about dessert pies. So the kinds of things you may eat after a meal. Most ordered on Instacart. So not that necessarily these are the favorite ones or that of everybody in the country, or that this was a scientific poll of any kind, but the most often ordered pies on Instacart. So Instacart being that online service that you can utilize through a lot of grocery stores, other food places where you can order food, not always ready to eat food, but where other groceries, marts, those kinds of places. But most ordered on Instacart last year. I was a little bit surprised. That's why I'm bringing this up. I was a little bit surprised, not with the first one, but with all the ones that follow. So most ordered, 29% of overall orders over the course of a 12-month period across the country. So this is all around the country on Instacart. 29% apple pie. I mean, apple pie is very nearly synonymous with the USA. I mean, really, it's hard to think of another food quickly that would get in front of it there. So apple pie, 29%. Here's what was interesting to me, and I think this just shows the power of Thanksgiving. Pumpkin pie, 23% of total orders. And of course, hyper concentrated there around, middle of November, or really end of October until the end of November. 23% of total pie orders on Instacart. Pumpkin, which with, again, a hyper concentration within about 30 days. And of course, my question was instantly, how many people are ordering pumpkin pie if it's not around Thanksgiving? Just a thought. I mean, you might be one. You might be one who likes pumpkin pie all year round. Can't blame you for that. But I thought it was kind of interesting because I don't really think of pumpkin pie as a year-round kind of thing, like some of these other ones that were a lot lower on the list, all in the single digits. Pecan pie at 9%, key lime pie at 5%. I would have thought those were much more, let's say, 12-month kind of experiences. rather than the hyper experience of pumpkin pie around Thanksgiving. That just means a lot of people are ordering pumpkin pie right there around that time. But maybe they're ordering it more year round, and I just don't know about it. Kind of interesting. Another collaboration here. This one was kind of interesting. This is a little seasonally appropriate, maybe more so than apple and pumpkin pie. Icy, those frozen drinks that you can get in a lot of convenience stores. They have a combination of ice and syrup flavoring. Been around forever. By the way, Icy is owned by JJ Snack Foods. J&J Snack Foods, publicly traded company, by the way, smaller one, but ticker symbol Joshua Sam Frank, JJSF is the ticker symbol for J&J Snack Foods. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but Icy is in a collaboration with Peeps, Peeps, the sugar marshmallow Peeps that come out around Easter time. They are coming. Icy is coming out with I better watch how you say this kind of thing, a Peep flavored frozen icy. So it's going to taste, I guess, like marshmallow, maybe the pink marshmallow or the yellow marshmallow. Those are the two colors of Peeps about which I'm aware. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, a marshmallow, I guess I could see that. I could see the marshmallow flavored syrup with the ice. It seemed a little bit of a stretch, but these companies are always looking for collaborations that are going to work. So you're going to see, especially if you're a fan of ices, if you get a lot of ices at your favorite convenience store, you may see the Peep flavor. And that's marshmallow Peep flavored icy, maybe at a store near you. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see that. And then one last food item here. I'm kind of catching up on the ones that I skipped for early in the show. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut, we talk about them with some regularity. They are one of the banners owned by Yum Brands. You heard me right. Yum Brands, Y-U-M. Ticker symbol is also Y-U-M. All right, very appropriately so. Yellow Umbrella Mary, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or bonds. Pizza Hut, I did laugh at this. And I laughed because I saw the advertisement first, because this guy always kind of makes me giggle whenever I see him, just because he's kind of a goofy guy. When Rob Gronkowski, erstwhile retired tight end for the New England Patriots and of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's been the pitchman or the one of the endorsing celebrities for Pizza Hut for their pizza and wings and breadsticks. They're calling it charcuterie, which I thought, okay, I have a picture, right? You envision this little board of some kind with small slices of a couple of different pizzas and chicken wings, and then breadsticks over here with their various dipping sauces. I kind of got it, but I thought that was kind of interesting because they're obviously picking up on the charcuterie craze, which I feel like is just countrywide at this point. Amazing the amount of popularity for various board configurations of various foods and combinations on them. Now you got one from Pizza Hut, where you can get pizza and wings and breadsticks, which in my world might be three of the top food groups as far as I'm concerned. So Pizza Hut again with Yum Brands. Taking a look at that. Got to talk about this company. Shifting gears out of food a little bit. Then I'm going to talk about the markets to close out our time together here today. Got to talk about Crown Castle. Crown Castle, publicly traded company, ticker symbol Charlie Indian. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds. Crown Castle is the number one owner and manager of telecommunications towers. So in a lot of ways, Crown Castle is almost like a real estate investment trust because they own not only the real estate on which many times they own not only the real estate on which those towers sit, but the towers themselves, and then they rent or lease space on those towers to various telecommunications companies, Verizon's, AT&T's, T-Mobile's, etc. of the world. And but they've struggled, and I think, my opinion, this is just my commentary on it. They've struggled, yes, from some company-made decisions, some company internals, definitely true. But I think they've struggled in part also because industry-wise, that it's largely becoming a commoditized industry, meaning that it's very, very difficult for anybody in the telecommunications mix of things to keep things at a superlative price point. Let me say it in a little more straightforward kind of way. When you're talking about cell phone bills, yes, they are expensive. You're talking about internet service bills, yes, they are expensive. But on a relative basis, we're paying less now than we've ever paid for those kinds of things. So and everybody's margins are getting squeezed. Everybody from the manufacturer of the phones to the towers themselves, to the providers, to the folks who are putting lines in your front yard and bringing the service to your front door for your internet home service and the like, which powers so many things. And I think that's largely been reflected, in addition to some of the internal struggles, my opinion, that Crown Castle has had here over the last couple of years. I think that's been reflected in the stock price. Over the last 3 years, the stock price is down approximately 50%. It was right around $200 a share 3 years ago. Right now, it's at about $100 a share. They just recently announced as well they're going to be firing their CEO. They've also just announced they're going to be selling off a number of their smaller business segments. Just going through a lot of restructuring right now. And again, it may be one of those companies that hasn't been on your radar screen just because they're not at the forefront. They're not an end retail provider like a Verizon or AT&T. They're not a manufacturer like an Apple or a Google of the handsets themselves. So I can understand that they may not be on your radar screen. However, without them, literally signals could not get transferred and we would have no coverage. So very, very vital in the mix of things, having a really tough time. Not only keeping margins, but keeping them from decreasing significantly. And so it's going to be interesting to see with the firing of the CEO, selling off of some smaller business segments, if they're going to be able to maintain well, and what that's going to mean for the company, for the stock over the long term. Definitely on our radar screen. All right, let's talk markets here. I got a couple of minutes left before we close out the day. Continues to be very interesting, folks. I don't need to tell you that. Just a lot of what we call washing machine kind of movements in the markets, meaning things slosh up and then they slosh down and they slosh up and slosh down in a circle. Again, a lot like a washing machine moves right now. No real direction in the market. The most aggressive ends of the market definitely have felt the pullback the most in terms of stock performance. Not that every stock is down in the more aggressive end of the market, but that's where you're seeing a significant portion of negative price action in that end of things. You're still seeing positive price action, though, in some of the more conservative, value-oriented ends of things. I'm looking at consumer products companies like Procter & Gamble. I'm looking at Johnson & Johnson, also on the pharmaceutical end of things. I'm looking at companies like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, again, consumer product kinds of companies. I'm looking at also oil and energy companies having a pretty good start to the year. I'm looking at you, BP Amoco. I'm looking at you, Chevron, Texaco, among others that are out there. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any of these companies that I'm talking about here, but you're seeing more stability in that end of the market from a stock pricing standpoint than we are seeing at the more aggressive end. And it was literally the inverse of that here for about the last 2 years, almost 2+ years at this point. So this is a natural kind of rotation, folks. It really is. It is not disorderly. Yes, there are days where the market moves quite a bit. You get 1,000-point movements, to the positive or the negative periodically. But this overall is a fairly orderly kind of move. Now, you may have bought some of these more aggressive investments that have really taken a hammer on the head. And I can understand that, because that would mean that you are, again, more exposed on that more aggressive end of the circle. But when you look at it overall, when you look at the markets overall, it's not an unhealthy market. We're getting in a space where interest rates are starting to flatten a little bit. Federal Reserve came out talking here this past week. Very little indication that they're going to be either decreasing rates or raising rates. Maybe we get a little bit of a reduction as we get towards the end of the year. But at this point, we're not seeing a lot of probability for that. I know the stock markets want it, but I don't see a lot of probability for that at this space. So we're going to continue to watch that. It's a big deal, and certainly it's relevant to all of us. Well, friends, I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Thursdays at 4 p.m. is where you can find us here on WSIC. Tune in next week, and I'll see you then.
Statesville, W290DK Mooresville.